Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. Today's interview, we are interviewing another NFT OG. You guys know we love bringing on OGs in this space. And we have Jimmy.eth on the podcast today, founder of Avastars, Nameless, Goda, and Kingship. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
What's up, fam? Good to be here. Glad to be on here. It's an honor.
Yes, it's an honor for us. And by the way, I did want to say we've had Rude Moose, Nate Alex, Mac Flavel, DCL Blogger, Carlini, and we're just trying to collect them all. Got to catch them all, you know. So
you're going after all the people who have been here since like nearly the beginning.
Yeah, I know, and it's really fun to hear people's origin stories, especially when they've come into the space where really there were barely any people around. And even hearing, what the bear market was like, back in the day when, now we're experiencing a bear market, but not many people have had experience with an NFT bear market before. I did want to hear your story on how you got started in the NFT space. I don't think I've heard your story before. I've listened to some podcasts from you, but how did you first find out about NFTs or crypto?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I found NFTs on the Appalachian Trail indirectly. I was hiking from Georgia to hopefully Maine. I didn't make it all the way in early 2017. And I had been on the trail for a couple months. And one day I was walking next to a guy who was doing the same thing as me, except for he mentioned that he was making like a couple grand a day. And I was like, how are you doing that? And he said he was mining Bitcoin. And I asked him how much Bitcoin was worth, and he said like $4,000 or something. And I remember in like 2014 or something, last time I had checked in on Bitcoin, it was like $400. So it was like just this holy shit moment. I knew when I went out on the trail, I was trying to find what was next. I didn't know how I was going to find it, but I did. In that, after I talked to that guy, I only lasted a couple more weeks on the trail, and I kept thinking about like machines working for you as miners. So I went home, and a few months later, I had some Ethereum mining rigs up and running. I made the decision to mine Ethereum instead of Bitcoin because I could build the mining rigs myself. I knew how to build a gaming computer, so I figured I could build a mining rig. So I did that, and then I didn't really know what to do with the Ethereum. And then a few weeks after that, CryptoKitties launched, and I started diving into CryptoKitties and trying to understand how people were making money doing that. It seemed a little complicated and hard to do at the time, especially because gas was so high. So I stepped away for a second. And then when I got a little bit very quickly, I got tired of the altcoin game, and it all started to feel very superficial. And CryptoKitties, though, seemed really interesting. And I was like, man, if people are figuring out how to make money doing that, like I should figure out how to do that too. So I just dove into CryptoKitties. In, I guess, February 2018, I found the Discord, and every day since then has been NFTs all the way.
Was I told you had to sell like an epic Lego collection to start buying CryptoKitties?
Well, I did a couple different things. Instead of buying Ethereum in like 2014, I decided to start speculating on Legos because I love Legos as a kid, and I actually really enjoy building them still. We have a ton of Legos we build here at the house. Mostly because of the collecting I did in 2014 to 2017. When I started building mining rigs, yes, I sold about $18,000 worth of Legos or so to build a couple different mining rigs. I think in the end I had like 40 cards across like nearly 10. They were all on a shelf. So, but I think it was like 10 CPUs running about 40 cards or something like that. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. I do Legos with my kids all the time, and I love them. They're fun. We don't collect any like the. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. They some of them get really expensive, and some of the bigger sets are fun. At one point, when I was collecting, I had a whole little like mini city set up and everything in my kitchen table, but it got a little ridiculous, and they take up a lot of room. And actually, the Legos and the burden of having to then store, preserve, and then sell and ship and do all of that is a perfect reason why I got into NFTs, because having to do all that's a pain in the ass. And you need storage space, and you need shipping, you need materials, you have to interact with people on eBay even after you sell it. There's all these things. And with NFTs, all you have to do is buy a digital object, and then when you're ready to sell it, you sell it on a marketplace, and there's nothing else to it. There's no shipping fees, there's no there's nothing else involved. It's super simple. So that was, for me as a collector, someone who was trying to make money collecting, I felt like NFTs were just a perfect avenue. It's unlimited closet space. It's free shipping.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better myself. I'm in for the same reasons. I was a ticket broker before this, and that was even kind of easy, just clicking some buttons. This is even easier to buy and sell. That's pretty cool. Yeah, for sure, man.
Yep.
Jennifer probably has a list of questions. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
So then Avastars came along, and I mean, there weren't really many like NFT projects around the time that Avastars came out, right?
I mean, there were some, but it was the pace of new notable projects coming out was very slow. It was maybe like one a month or something like that back in 2019 and early 2020. We definitely I built Avastars as a response to my collecting CryptoKitties and having some gripes about CryptoKitties as a collector and what I would like to see in an NFT collection, and finally realizing that if I wanted to see it, I had to make it. Otherwise it may not show up. And I felt like it was important to have some early examples of like on-chain NFTs and what those look like and how they could be done, which we did with our SVG, on-chain SVG and on-chain metadata. I also, as a CryptoKitties holder, felt very much like when I bred two cats together and I created it, that it was actually, I was the creator and I should own the copyright to that, not CryptoKitties. CryptoKitties didn't feel that way. They eventually gave a license for up to $100K for non-commercial, like light commercial activities, non-like branding activities and stuff like that, though. Like you could make a mug or a t-shirt. But CryptoKitties themselves, I realized, didn't really make great profile pictures either. So I wanted to make something that could also make a good profile picture, came with commercial rights. The way that Avastars were created, you scrolled through and found one you liked. So the person who minted that is the initial creator of that rather than ourselves. So just respecting the rights of a creator and giving them the right to use the copyright and everything else. And then, also with CryptoKitties, the breeding mechanism was, you had two kitties and you paid 0.008 ETH to breed them together, and you got a random result. And if you wanted to get a specific result, then you had to do it over and over and over again until you got that result. You may never get that result because of the randomness. And I just didn't really like that gambling aspect of it. So with the Avastars, we created replicants where if you have the right traits across a variety of different ones, like you can use up to 5 Avastar primes to create a replicant, then you can make one exactly how you want it to look. And it costs 1 art token. And the art tokens were given out to the people who held Avastars when we were minting them. So it's the economy's entirely in the community's hands. We just would get the 2.5% marketplace fees for any sales associated with it. We've always had a low marketplace secondary sales fee. We tried to fit a lot into a project, and we did fit a lot into a project. And it's been cool to see there have been projects that have followed in our footsteps, in particular, like Cyber Brokers. I love Josie and everything that her and her team have done over there. And that feels like, picking up a lot of the pieces that we laid down and creating something new. So really like seeing that progression. The point was I wanted examples to be out there so that people would make good NFTs. And Avastars remains, in my opinion, one of the best NFTs out there technically. I created it, so I'm biased, but I have put a lot of time, thought, and energy into the space, as have a lot of the other people you mentioned that have been on the show before. They all have amazing projects in their own right for their own reasons. And those are our personal expressions of what we want to see in the space. We've, gone beyond just collecting and like decided to build to like show our convictions to the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I so remember scrolling through the website and like, whoa, there's so many different options to choose from. And that's super different. Now, like you don't scroll through, like, I mean, I hadn't really seen any other projects where you can really like pick what you want to mint. So that was a really cool concept. And then also
there's been a couple, like the Pool Suite one, like did it, but it wasn't as fun, I don't think, as scrolling. Like the scrolling was literally addictive. I really enjoyed it as well. And we borrowed that mechanic from a project called Clovers, which were not nearly as interesting to look through as like portraits of Avastars. I would love to see more scrolling based projects, or the rarity there was your time. You're using your time to find something you liked rather than spending additional Ethereum. And I still think that's a strong concept that should be explored more.
Why is on-chain generative art important? Because you talk about Avastars being like first fully on-chain, generative NFT, and a lot of NFTs aren't generated on-chain. Why is that important to you?
Distinction here would be like it's on-chain. I wouldn't call it on-chain generative. On-chain generative would be a subgenre of on-chain, or like art blocks type stuff where like it was doing like RNG directly on-chain. With Avastars, we were doing the RNG on like a Web2 server and like serving that up to the user and then storing the generated images on-chain. The reason it's important is because if in 10 years you wanted to like, show your sibling or your niece or your nephew or your son your Avastar and your CryptoKitty, and Dapper Labs for some reason has failed miserably and gone out of business, and they're no longer hosting the images of CryptoKitties anywhere anymore, I'm not going to be able to show them that CryptoKitty. But the Avastar is on chain, and even if my company has gone out of business and I'm not around anymore, which I hope I am in 10 years, but if I'm not, then they would be able to go and interact with the smart contract and pull down the art of the Avastar. And so would somebody in 200 years if the blockchain is running. And there's never any need to worry about that because it's literally just embedded into the same code that like governs the fact that you have an NFT. So there's a real power in having the art and the information about the NFT stored directly on the blockchain, because it is never going to degrade any further than the blockchain it's stored on itself.
Okay, so sorry, just stored on chain, not generated on chain.
Yeah. All good.
Okay, and then so you are like the 5th largest Bored Ape holder. You have like 56 Bored Apes, and then a bunch of other Yuga assets as well. And you also started Kingship, which partnered with M&M's. And that was super cool to see. I guess I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on Bored Apes. A lot of Bored Apes are using their IP. They're going out and doing things. You did something with Kingship, and I don't know, what was your thought process there with creating Kingship?
Really, all the credit for Kingship, the idea for Kingship, goes to Celine Joshua, who is the music executive at 10:22 p.m. It's a joint venture with Universal Music. She had the concept already, fleshed out in her mind. And I was introduced to her through my friend, Nick Adler. And we managed to connect on like the idea and everything else right away. I happen to have a bunch of apes available, as you mentioned. I think I still have 56 apes right now. And we were able to pick, 4 of those, 3 from those apes, and then one of my mutants, and create this amazing band. And my thought process there was that I'm a really big advocate of IP rights. I mean, we built that into Avastars as well. As far as I know, we were the first intentional PFP project. We were the first PFP project to incorporate commercial rights. And so I've always wanted to see those things come to life in other projects. And I think with the Bored Apes brand, I saw a great opportunity with the popularity of the brand to leverage that. And when the Kingship opportunity came along, I was ready to go. There's a lot of other opportunities I've been working on that will come to light soon. And I think that there's a great long-term opportunity for Bored Apes and other projects to leverage the IP. And I also think this is an important technological advancement in like the IP licensing and IP rights sphere, which is immense value. There's so much money in IP rights, and being able to transfer those rights easily in the long run. I'm not saying you can easily transfer rights today. You can license rights easily today with NFTs, but hopefully in the long run, we'll be able to even transfer IP rights, and that'll make like everything a lot more transparent and efficient and easier to build mechanisms and to pay people for their copyrighted material. So I'm a big fan of like, I think there's a place for CCO as well in the space, like, just like there's a place for open source software. But I am a big fan of, figuring out ways to incorporate existing mechanisms into Web3 and to improve those existing mechanisms. We don't have to turn everything completely on its face, and, everything doesn't have to be a full revolution. It could be an evolution. So, yeah.
Step by step, we get ahead, but not necessarily in fast spurts. Although the NFT space moves pretty fast. What do you see being the next evolution of NFTs, or I guess the natural progression of how things are going to turn out next?
I was asked this question yesterday as well. I don't have a great answer here other than I really think that music is going to potentially have a moment here. I mean, obviously I'm biased with Kingship, but I think that the space by and large is realizing how important like storytelling is. And, we've created all these characters, but a lot of them don't have a personality or anything behind them. And we have to, start thinking a little bit more about who these characters are and what they're doing, other than just being like a personal profile picture. I think the projects that do that could do really well. I don't really know. I think it's probably still going to be something PFP based, something simple, easy to grasp, easy to understand. But there's a lot of amazing shit being worked on right now. I mean, all the niches that are emerging as well. There's of course a very strong niche around art and, specifically collecting one-of-ones and editions by amazing artists. And, I'm involved with the Gallery of Digital Assets platform, GOTA. That one's an amazing art platform for traditional artists coming to the NFT space. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff there. One of our business partners is Cause. And so, put 2 and 2 together there. I think what Yuga Labs is working on with Other Deed is another side is incredibly cool. And I have high hopes for what they're doing there. No idea. It's just me as a kid imagining what it could be, and seeing what I've seen so far, extrapolating that out into what I'm going to see in the future. I really am excited about that. Doodles is grinding on stuff as well.
Yes, let's go. Pump my bags.
Right. I mean, I think they're probably working on some big stuff. I've got a bunch of duplicators. I've got a bunch of Genesis boxes. So I'm really hoping that those turn out to be something fun and amazing. I don't really know.
What are they working on? What are they working on, if you don't mind? What do you know that
actually it's funny because I'm in, a private group with Jordan with Poopy, and I actually have no idea, like, other than like he's very confident in what they're doing, like nice. Supremely confident. It's like homie
50 mil will do that to you, right?
He's 50 mil confident.
No, not him. Yeah, no, right. Yeah, exactly.
No, I know, but yes, yes, exactly. Like it's not only that though. I don't think it was just the money. Like I actually think that like what I've picked up is that like they really feel like they've honed in on an area they want to go, and they think they're doing something different than what other projects are doing, and they're very proud of what they're doing. So they blew me away with their initial Doodles drop in general, and the in real life experiences. I got to be there for both of those. So I have faith in those teams. I think what I was telling whoever I was speaking to last night, I was telling them the teams and like these projects, like you go into them, and whether or not a community likes it kind of just starts to determine the initial success, and then after that hype dies down, like where the team like goes from there and how they execute and what they do kind of really to just at this point determining the longer term success of the project. And Yuga's absolutely delivered there as well. And Doodles just feels to me like a team that delivers. And so I'm really excited about that project too.
Awesome. So one thing I wanted to bring up before we run out of time is your Nameless, which I know you're behind Nameless, or you're part of the team. And I remember that they put on or did a lot to put on VeeFriends. I was big into VeeFriends when it launched. I watched the whole mechanics of it.
Yep.
And I don't even know if there's been a drop that like intricate since then, with all the different tiers and the different Dutch auctions going at the same time. Like, I don't know if you want to talk about kind of what went into that, what your part was, but I mean, that was epic for me. That was one of the first ETH NFTs I bought and really kicked off an amazing run.
Yeah. So Avastars and Nameless are, brothers and sisters. Those are both my entities.
Okay.
Like Goda and Kingship and things like that. I'm, a part of. It's not like those aren't my brainchilds, but Nameless and Avastars were very much my brainchilds. And I like hearing you say all those things, Michael, because it was a very technical drop. There was a lot going on there, a lot of moving parts. Myself and a lot of people that were on our team in 2021, early 2021, were engaged directly with that project every day, 12 to 16 hours a day for 6 to 8 weeks. That was a amazing experience getting to work with Gary, as chaotic and fun as you could possibly imagine. And we did launch a product that we were all proud of in the end. We ended up building what is today, we launched just like 6 weeks ago, something called Stealth Test. Stealth Test was very much built from our experience on VeeFriends and other projects that we did before and after that, but primarily VeeFriends, like being able to have a test environment to consistently and constantly test all of the Web3 components against the website and everything else leading up to the launch was a huge fucking pain in the ass and a huge burden for a project of that scope. And it's a huge burden for really any project to a certain degree, unless you're just doing the most simplistic thing ever, in which case you should still test. But we built this tool that with ourselves and other developers in mind, like what do we need in order to do this project better in the future? And Stealth Test was one of those things, which it's basically a private testing environment instead of using RinkB or Goerli or any of those, or creating your own locally. You have a cloud-based testing environment that like provides you with the ability to test Arweave, IPFS, and of course Ethereum. Will add more blockchains over time and add more features and things like that over time. But just being able to go in and do the sufficient testing and make sure you don't have any major bugs or problems with your sales contract or anything like that. I mean, we saw some issues from big projects, like Akutars. I love Micah. I love their project. They lost their ass on that, right? Like just by trying to do the right thing too, and just putting some code in there that didn't end up like resolving in the right way. And then of course the Yuga Labs, even with Otherdeed and their sale and all the wasted gas that they wasted for customers. So having a testing environment where it's testing today feels kind of rushed, and you're always trying to do it and like obscure it in some way on these public test nets. And none of the process is fun. And I don't think it'll ever be fun, but we can make it easier and simple and make more sense. I mean, in the traditional development world, like staging environments and test environments, like all that's pretty standard, and I don't think that it's a standard in our crazy world today. So we're trying to just provide a little bit of sanity for developers.
I saw when you guys launched that, and that was definitely pretty brilliant. I've worked on a few projects, and you do all the testing, and it is public and all that. Is it up and available now for creators, and does it cost? Do you guys charge?
Yeah, we do. You get a 14-day free trial. So if you wanted a shotgun, start right before you're launching, you can always, basically use it for free. I think we're charging right now like $500 a month for access to it, which if you think about it, that's 2 or 3 mints on your project. So if you think about the risk versus reward of not using it or using a public test net, like it feels very worth it to me. I might be jaded, but as someone who's been in the space, seen what's going on, like this just feels like something that I don't feel like I'm like trying to like sell someone something when I'm telling them you should check this out and use it. Like I actually think I'm trying to help people out, even though it's something we made.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's
feels
really
authentic.
cool. It's really, really cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I just asked one more question.
Jenny, I love your Avastar, by the way. I know the listeners won't see it, but she's got like a queen Avastar with like the neon purple hair and a matching background. Like it's beautiful. So
it's a
nice work on that. Did you scroll that or did you make that?
So this is a replicant, and actually my boyfriend, before we like started dating, he like made this for me. And sent it to me. I was telling Michael that, and I was like, he won me over with Avastar.
Yeah, that's some alpha right there, gentlemen. If you're looking for a nice lady, you might want to.
That's
incredible. He made this custom, and I was like, "Oh, so special."
He told you like you're his queen, right? Like that's what that's what he was telling you.
Yeah. You might know him. Maybe I can tell you after the show. He's like an NFT OG as well.
Cool. I love it. That's awesome.
Pranksy.
Yeah. No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my
Alex.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, okay, my last question is, as we wrap this up here, is do you have any advice for people building in the space right now? You know, creating projects, building. I've heard about several Web3 companies this week, literally like shutting down, you know, because of the bear market. And I guess just, you know, some words of encouragement or some advice for people that are building and really looking to make something out of this NFT space.
I mean, if you're still here right now, then you probably do care on a deeper level than just the market activity that was witnessed over the last year. So I would say from like an encouragement perspective, like you already encouraged yourself, just if you're listening to this, you're here. And so, you know, take that as a sign that there's a reason for it. And when I started into all of this, going back to my Genesis story I told you guys earlier, when I got off and I built those mining rigs and I started mining, and then a few weeks later started playing around with CryptoKitties. I was living with my mom. I was helping her recover from surgery at the time. And I told her at the time that I didn't know what this was going to be yet, but it felt like this was whatever I was meant to be doing, if you believe in shit like that. And that it would reveal itself over time if I just put in the work and just kept exploring and allowing myself to be curious about these things. That eventually led to Avastars, eventually led to Nameless. It's eventually led to all of the other projects that I'm involved with that we discussed, and a lot of things that we haven't discussed. It's led to my success, being curious, diving in, willing to be wrong, willing to learn through debate and discussion, willing to be somebody in the space. You know, I have a lot of friends that are just as smart as me, some smarter, and equally good collectors. And they don't like participate in the communities in the same way that like we all do. And that, you know, can also be, you know, part of it. So there's a lot of different elements, and, you know, it's about finding where you feel comfortable. You don't have to be in the spotlight. You can be completely in the background and anonymous. And, you know, you can at this point do even anonymous work for people if they're willing to like look the other way on certain regulations and things like that. But I would just say, you know, find the things that you love and like do those things. Like mine broadly has been NFTs. It's been on chain. It's been IP rights. Like I couldn't have told you when I came off the trail, and I couldn't have told you a year after CryptoKitties that these were all of the things that I cared about. I knew some of those ideas were planted and I started to care, but it takes time. You have to plant seeds and water them and let them grow. And, you know, those things take time to grow into something meaningful. So if you want to get things done really quickly and, you know, iterate that way, do that. But you have to also consider like, you know, the cost there over time of, you know, just dumping things on the community. You know, be a collector first. I would say first and foremost, like, I think that's aided me and guided me along the way in a good way. And I also have my collection to fall back on if like things don't work out in business, and vice versa. If things don't work out with my collecting, I have my business to fall back on. So, you know, diversify yourself as much as possible And I don't know, just find joy. And if you enjoy what you're doing, then you can do it. Like if you're financially stable enough to do it, or you figured out a way to make money and find joy at the same time, then you've done it. But like along the way, just be curious, be a kid, explore, and you'll find it. It'll find you. It's a combination of both. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So you have to like prepare to be successful and lucky, you know?
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you for coming on the show. This was a really great episode. Michael, do you want say any closing thoughts before I close this out?
Nah, same. Just thanks for coming on, man. It was good to talk to you. Third time's the charm. And we finally made it happen. You know, I think a good compliment to you is the fact that anybody can say the name Jimmy in the NFT space and they know exactly who they're talking about. That's kind of like, Cher, Oprah. Like, it doesn't come easy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
wild. And you know what?
Right?
If it was cheaper to register J1M, I would have been Jim. But like Jimmy, ETH was like a cheap ENS, so I went with it.
Yeah, it works. It works, man. Thank you so much, though. It's going to be fun watching all the stuff you build, and we appreciate it.
It was my pleasure, and thank you all so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. Looking forward to talking again in the future.
All right. And with that said, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, consider writing a review, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.